Sorry, should never shift and and record at the same time. Anyways, hello and welcome back to Knitting Nook. Last time on Knitting Nook, I left you working on garter stitch, the knit stitch, back and forth, which is, when you do that, is actually is the garter stitch. Yeah, you were practicing doing this. This is the same pink yarn. I added a few extra rows so we can learn how to cast off. Casting off is not that hard. If you're wanting to do borders with crochet, you do have to be careful because you can do this really tight and then it makes it hard to hook in with your crochet hook. Let's see if I can find a crochet hook. Aha! Nice to have projects nearby. This is a really teeny crochet hook. It's not a teeny tiny, but this is a 3.5 millimeter. I did get this metal hook off a Wish. I am not unhappy with it, and I would order off these hooks again off Wish. They're very similar to Boys. They do not say Boys on them, but very similar, and definitely not unhappy. Nice thing about metal Wish hooks, this is a secret, is if you are teaching somebody how to do it, these would be the ones to loan, because you can get these ones cheap, and if they walk off with them or lose them, they're not your Boys hook or your special fancy hooks. Always good to do that. And as I said before in other Knitting Nook video, get metal hooks. Get metal hooks for your crochet, metal needles for your knitting projects. They don't bend the same. They just don't bend. Mine have lasted a long time. The only thing that I've had is, as time goes by, I have paint, because I got painted ones. The painted ones came out and I thought, ooh, these are groovy, and I like them. And I've got, the end has, the paint's come off. I have used them to play with my cats, usually that end. But yeah, I love these color ones. But yeah, get metal ones. The plastic ones eventually after projects, especially if you have tension issues, they will bend, and then you've got a permanent bend in them. Larger projects, get yourself circular needles. Circular needles are those needles that have the wire, plastic wire, that attach the two needles together. The summer project will require, I've decided, will require a circular needle. It'll just be easier because you're going to start out with 50 stitches to cast on to begin with. You can get 50 on this shorter needle. You're not going to stay with 50 because you will increase. This is a much longer needle, as you can see. You can get 50 on there, but we're going to be increasing, and it's going to get wider and wider. I haven't decided how much wider, but it's I want it to be a nice wide shawl. I have crocheted it much bigger than this one. This shawl that I started out, this was one of the first ones of the flat bottom that I've done, is about 5 feet wide. The other one is 6 feet or 6.5 feet long. I'm thinking a nice 6.5 to 7 feet would be nice. I want a nice sort of wrap around, cuddle on the couch, cover me up kind of one. I have a Red Heart Comfort ball down there in about 2,000 yards, and I plan on using it up. It's not the softest yarn on the planet. I bought it, and now I want to use it up in all its red gloriousness. So that will be the project for that. I'm looking forward to that as my knitting summer project. If you go on to Crochet Corner very soon here, with the tomorrow being May 15th, I probably will not get this on before May 15th. I don't know, because that's a lot of dumping. Anyways, with the long weekend being starting tomorrow, or having started last weekend, as the case may be, on Crochet Corner we will be starting an Afghan project. There'll be a sampler with a variety of granny squares on that channel, so if you're interested in crochet as well, there will be there. And on Tea Time there's the summer reading project. So, but anyways, cup of tea in hand. Back to our relaxing knitting moment here and shifting. Arthritis is not kind, but going to show you that as it is creeping through my body, it hasn't taken hold of my hands just yet. It is in my right wrist, but I am not letting it take me down. This is my rocky moment. Anyways, so to cast off is easy. It's not that hard. You do have to know how to knit. This is why I started with the cast on. Now I'm thinking about Karate Kid. Cast on, cast off. But anyways, and I have my little bit of glowing knitting here. I suggest, unless you are a seasoned knitter, that casting off always be done on a knit row. Purling cast off is just, it's fussy. It can be done, but it's fussy. I've got glow in my hair. The sun has shifted around, so we are going to shift around too. Okay, so to cast off, you take your, what I'm calling your working needle, and I've been using these shorter ones. I just love these shorter ones. These shorter ones are great for scarves and stuff, and they don't get hooked up in my boobs and my clothes and stuff, so it works much the same as if you were going to knit. So premise is the same. So up, around, back through, and off. So your first part of casting off is a knit stitch. Then you go into and you knit the same. So you've got, what you have, is on your working needle is 2 knits. Then what you take is your holding needle and come up into, come here, table. Come here. We're having lighting issues. So I'm going to pause and see if we can figure out this. Okay, so I jiggled things and I turned the camera off. So we will be starting from this point. So anyways, what I have on here is my 2 knit stitches. Okay, Oh, and here we go with darkness. Okay, that's not working. Oh, here we go. We have the 2 knit stitches here. Now, what you do is you take your holding needle and you go into the back on your side of there, see, and you slide up into, pull it, take the working needle, the stitch that's still on the working needle, and pull it up through. Okay, so you probably didn't see that, and now I've got darkness again. And so you'll end up with 1 stitch on there. The sun is being a pain in the tookie ass today, in the tookus. Okay, let's see if we shift this way. Okay, so we go and we make a knit stitch. So wrap up through, wrap around, pull through, and out. Okay, make sure we're kind of loose. It's better to be loose when you're practicing anyways. So come down through the back stitch here. Okay, sun, stop, camera, work, thank you. Through the back stitch, through, pull, up, slide this working needle forward with the stitch, through, pull through, just like that. Now if I get lighting to work, this would be awesome. I even turned the overhead lights, and there's 3 lights on in there. And we have Miss Cleo over here. So, through, up, through. Okay. Wrap around this working needle. So up through the stitch on there. Pull through to create that knit stitch. And then off. There we go. Then through the stitch, the back stitch that's on your working needle, pull it up, pull that front stitch through the back stitch, and done just like that. And as you can see, it is starting to come off, and that's why it's called casting off. So here we go again. Whoa, my kitty's slipping. Okay, so we're going to make a knit stitch. So up through, wrap around, pull through, and off. And then we go through to cast off. We go through the back stitch, pull up, pull that front stitch through the back stitch, and pull it off. So that you always have just 1 stitch on there, and then you end up with that. And you'll see we're coming off, just like that. So we make a knit stitch, make our knit stitch. Excuse me, I got dry mouth. We go into that bottom stitch. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way. Into the bottom stitch. This first stitch here, we pull it up, slide, whoops, slide. Then we take that first stitch, my finger's in the way, take that first stitch, pull it, and then pull everything off. There we go. My finger was in the way for that one, sorry about that. So we make a knit stitch for our next stitch, up, through, over, through, and there we go. So now we have 2 stitches on. Then we go into the back loop. We pull the back loop over the front loop, drawing the front loop through that back loop, and then off. Then we knit the next loop so that we always have 2 loops on there. And as you can see, we're coming off. just like that. And I haven't done it too tight, which would make it, if I was going to crochet an edge around it, this would make it fairly easy to clean up this edge with a nice crochet border. Okay, so now, trying so hard not to get my hands in the way, we slide our needle into this back loop, we pull up, we slide that front loop up through that back and then off, and then we go and we make another loop, another front loop, and then we go into the back loop with our working needle, our holding needle, pardon me, and we grab it, slide into it, we pull it up, we take the working needle, we pull that first needle up, and we slide everything off so that we have one loop on, and then we make we knit another stitch. And as we go along, we're casting off. And this is how they make necklines for sweaters, do sleeves, the sleeves in sweaters and shirts and things like that. Excuse me, I'm slipping off the edge of the chair. Do shaping for reduction. This is how you do reduction in knitting. Okay, and so grasping down here, going into the back loop because we're casting off, pull up, working needle, pulling that, whoops, too high up, pulling that front. So we took the holding needle, slid it into the back, took the working needle, pulled that first loop up through the back loop, and now we knit. Go. Working holding needle, pull that up, working needle, pulling through, and knit. There we go. Pulling up, pulling through, and knit. 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 And as we're going along, we are coming off our holding needle. And for me, the holding needle is always the left hand, never the right hand. I don't knit left-handed. Possibly in the future I might be able to rectify that. That could be a challenge, but I neither knit nor crochet left-handed. I know Hooked by Robin and the Crochet Crowd do left-handed crochet. So, ooh, fuzzies. Just taking a break, making your crochet life a little, your knit life a little easier. So, lift up, pull through, and knit. So in this knitting dance, we are almost finished. Lift up, pull through, and knit. Lift up, pull through, and knit. Always 2, lift up, pull through, and knit. Lift up, pull through, and knit. Okay, now when you're at the last one, it's, okay, fingers, kind of got to get out of the way. It's, because we're at the last one, so we no longer have, I'm doing the Harry Potter thing again, we no longer have anything on here. It's put through that second loop, like that, pull through, and off. And just off like that, just like that. And what I would normally do, but I don't want to waste the yarn, is I would just pull this up a little bit. If I can find them here. Take my scissors, cut my piece off, and pull it a little bit, or I would just pull it down and cut my piece off, and then pull this through, and then I would be done my piece. Just like that. But as I don't want to do that, I will pull this all apart and then start all over again. So we're going to pull this apart very, very gently to see if I can keep the loops at all. Keep some of these loops. Because this is just a swatch. So it doesn't matter if I lose any. This is not important. I'll put this one down. And this is why I should not be afraid of frogging when it comes to knitting, because sometimes you will get lucky and it won't be all the end of the world. I managed to get it back on there. I did not get one stitch where I didn't get it quite all on there properly, but that's okay. This is just for practice. So quickly, we'll practice. I'll show you this again. Okay, except I did this backwards, so I have to I'll quickly just thread this back on here. This makes for a little bit longer tutorials, but that's what this is all about, is learning. So this is a chance for you to take a break, have some tea, coffee, pause me, go to the bathroom. There we go. Now we're normal. This thread end should always be on the end you're going to be working. Always. So when you're knitting, if it's not on the end that you're going to be starting on, then you're on the wrong end. Okay, so casting 101. You're always going to start with that knit stitch. So up through, around, through, and off. Up through, around, and off. And then through the back one, which we can't see because my finger's in the way. So through the back one, pull it up, pull the front one through the back one, and off. And then knit. Through the back one, pull up, front one through the back one, and off. And knit. through the back one, up through, there we go. That front one through the back one and off. And then knit. And you can see you have 2 stitches on there and it's coming off. So we want to slide into that back one, pull it up, pull the front through the back, and then pull them both off. Pull that off onto your working needle there. So we're always working, whether you're working from right to left or you're right-handed and you're working left to right. We do our knit stitch onto there to finish that up. You are always working from whatever is your holding needle to your working needle. So if you're left-handed, it would look like this. It would be different. You would be holding your working needle in your left hand and your holding needle in your right hand. Okay, there we go. There's the light. So yes, if you're left-handed, working's in your left and your holdings in your right. So, in your right-handed, working's in your right and your holdings in your left. So here we go. So we want to lift this back when we're casting off. Lift that front stitch up through the back stitch, and then create a knit stitch. Lift back stitch, pull the front stitch through the back stitch, and then the knit stitch. So that we have 2 stitches on there, and then this piece that's hanging off. So using my finger, there we go, back through the back stitch, working needle pulling the front stitch up through that back stitch. There we go, trying to keep the stitches even so that if you are going to crochet, it's nice and loose, but it's the right tension to do a border. So up through, around, through, and off. So through, up, off, knit, there we go, up, through, off, knit, light, please, thank you, through, off, no cooperation with the lights. I'm sliding. I slide, the hands go down. Okay. We're casting. And it's coming off. You can see just like there. Coming off. And we're falling. So this casting off video is going to, because of technical difficulties, is going to be a little bit longer than I wanted. But through, off, and knit, through, and knit, through, and knit. Hello, through, and knit. Okay, camera angles. Okay. Oh, didn't like that. Oh, whoops, battery issues. Where's my cord? Where's my cord? Okay, I'm going to pause and... Okay, back again. Okay, so we're taking a little bit longer time with this video because I am dealing with dark and light, and I really want everybody to get this stitch. I'm having some reflective issues on my end where I can see things on my camera that I know you can't, but I can. And then battery was like, my phone was like, oh, I'm starving. So I've done several videos today, which you will notice because I'm wearing the same shirt. I did take the hat off, which I am not sure was a good idea because my hair is still not cooperating. I did brush it today. Didn't brush it in yesterday's video, but I did brush it today. Okay, so back to casting off. Cheers, people. Here's to patience. And that's all knitting is it's a moment of patience. So for some of you, that might involve alcohol. I'm not saying you need to drink to knit, but a nice glass of wine and some groovy music and a quiet moment might be exactly... Actually, that sounds good. I don't drink wine, but just I've enjoyed my quiet moments when I'm creating. I really do. Anyway, so I have 2 loops on, and one is the last cast off and one is the new knit. So you take your holding stitch, you pick your holding needle and you slide it up into the second to this farther stitch on your working needle and hold it up, and you take your working needle, get my fingers are not out of the way, and you hook that first stitch. There we go. You hook that first stitch that was on there and you pull it through. There we go. Just like that. So that you have one on there. Okay? Then you go and you knit. Just like that. And then you repeat. You go into the back, pull it up, that back stitch. You pull that front stitch through the back stitch so that it looks, there you go, and pull it off. And then you knit. And you knit so that you have your 2. You have your 2 on there. Okay? And as you go, your project will come off your hook. Okay? And you take through, pull the front up through, and you knit. And you knit. So you have your 2 on there. Come up through your back stitch, pull your front stitch up through your back stitch, just like that. And you knit. Nail your back stitch up, front stitch through, just like that. And knit. And then you take back stitch, front stitch through, and you're done. You would normally cut this off, like I said earlier, and your project would be finished. Flip it and tuck your end in, crochet on your edges, just like that. Now my suggestion is don't cut that off. Take your swatch, of however big it was that you make them. Tear it all apart. Here on Knitting Nook, we are not afraid to frog. What we're doing is we're prepping for the summer project that I was talking about earlier, for that shawl that we're going to make, because it's all about learning, and learning is practice, practice, practice. We're going to be not afraid of doing knitting projects. Knitting is fun. Knitting is relaxing. Knitting is not a headache. Some people knit, some people prefer to crochet. I have preferred to crochet, but I love to knit. And so I want to get back into knitting. You would think I'm having lots and lots of clouds. I'm not sure what this is. If anybody knows what this light, dark light thing, please leave it in the comments. I would totally appreciate a technical review of my videos. Please be kind though, as I am not a technical artist. So I apologize for the length of this video. I hope it was helpful in your learning of knitting and learning how to cast off. Try not to get a fuzzy yarn. That would be my last helpful hint for today in this one. Try and get a yarn that isn't fuzzy, because otherwise you will get hang up worse. Whoops, get hang up worse than that. This one's getting grumpy because I have been using it over and over again. I look forward to teaching you the purl stitch next, and other projects, and I am absolutely looking forward to that summer project that uses casting on, the knit stitch, garter stitch, purling, stocking stitch, and casting off. And this is why we're learning all this stuff. This is why I said go get yourself just a random ball of yarn, something like a Bernat Premium. Super Saver's not too expensive, just any kind of Super Saver, and it shouldn't catch on itself, so it's not too fuzzy. A Red Heart Super Saver. And it's enough to work as a scrap yarn to work your practice stitching. We probably will not get into doing the shawl till June. I still need to work out the pattern, but I want you guys to practice your knitting so that you have some confidence when we go in and do the shawl. So, because it will be a stitch along. Anyways, cheers, have a good afternoon, and practice your stitching. I'll see you on the purl.